made with spoken. The Red Diamond by Alicia McCalla. Digital narration performed by Alicia Speaks and other digital voices. Chapter 1. Fat Eddie had my baby sister. There was nothing standing in his way of murdering her except my handing him the red diamond. I had to steal it first, and he knew that. Perhaps he wasn't as dumb as he looked. He had a point to prove, obviously. This was all my fault. Fat Eddie got tired of me playing Robin Hood with his drug-dealing biz money and paid a healthy ransom to figure out who I really was. I wish he'd have just come after me instead. That would have been better. But guys like him didn't get to be where they were by being stupid. If it matters, I don't have any regrets about stealing money from a kingpin and giving it to people who needed it. People who were destitute. Living in the D was hard enough. Detroit had been in significant decline over the years, but saying it was on hard times is laughable. The mean streets had gotten vicious. I did what I could to keep it livable. I understood the hood. That's how I grew up. From these mean streets, learning what it meant to be on the bottom of drug pushers, dope peddlers, and gang members. The gangs ran neighborhoods better than the popo. The gang moneymakers were out of control. They ran the city, large cats like Fat Eddie. Gangs made their own justice. Street justice. Gang justice killed my older brother. I witnessed them murder him because he stood up to them and wouldn't join the 5th Street Hood boys. I remember the funeral, the preacher going on and on about God. Me, I wanted justice. I wanted to balance the scales in a prophetic way, the way you do in the hood. Hood justice was hard. And so was I. I became the vigilante, black justice. And now 5th Street Hood boys no longer existed. My only fault? Not keeping my real identity a secret. Now Fat Eddie held my sister hostage while I was forced to steal the famous red diamond to repay him for all the money I'd stolen from him. I entered the enchanted diamond jewelry auction house where the diamond was kept. From my research, I knew it was worth at least $1 million. I hadn't stolen that much from that fat bastard, but I guess he really was trying to make his point. The auction building was completely dark, devoid of any power. I'd knocked out the grid for the entire block. It was strange, though. They didn't have guards around. The place was empty and a little eerie. Something was wrong. I needed to be really careful. Maybe Fat Eddie decided to set me up instead of making me repay him. I adjusted my infrared glasses. Nothing except a bunch of jewelry cases. I tapped the button on my arm screen. The map led me to a case in the back room. I crept around and quietly entered the room where the diamond was supposed to be held. The room was much larger than it appeared from the outside. High vaulted ceilings and a tall staircase. Where is everyone? I was expecting some resistance. It couldn't be this easy. I turned up the volume on my headset. I didn't hear voices but crunching noise. Was someone breathing? Taking a smoke, maybe? I glanced over in the direction where I smelled smoke. Detective John Frank stood on the carpet, the case's glass crunching beneath his feet. The diamond was gone. What was he doing here? I paused. Yep, that was Detective Frank. Big white dude, wearing a cheap suit and a dirty trench coat. Seriously, he needed to invest in some stylish digs. Was he here to investigate the theft? Frank put his cigarette out and said,
Looks like they beat you to it.
He motioned toward the busted case.
No use in hiding. I know you're here. I can smell you. I've been waiting for you.
His voice was silent but deadly.
The police syndicate sent me.
The police syndicate. Did Fat Eddie tell them who I was? The syndicate is working for Fat Eddie now? My voice modulator made me sound masculine and gruff. Hard. He chuckled.
No, Eddie is just greedy and put a high ransom out for the diamond. We figured you would show up and try to steal it too. But you're too late.
I smiled, but he couldn't see me. The police syndicate was mad. I'd gone all out with my vigilantism, stole from them, and hog-tied a group of dirty cops in front of the news station with proof. What can I say? I'm an equal opportunity vigilante.
You've stepped on the wrong foot and must be handled appropriately, payback and all.
He took something and swallowed. Chapter 2. I laughed. The voice modulator in full effect. You're going to take me down all by yourself? Before I knew it, he was across the room and on top of me. Man, he really was a freak of nature. Dude was on ice, the drug that gave people dangerous superhuman abilities. The good news was the stuff only lasted for a few minutes. The bad news was I'd never used it, so didn't have the strength to stop him. What I lacked in strength, my exoskeleton suit made up for. I jumped high and attached to the edge of the vaulted ceiling. I thought about pulling the vent cover off and escaping, but I was too slow. Frank shot from the ground, barreling towards me. I held my spot, then at the last second, I moved and allowed him to hit the wall. He grunted. I dropped down and so did Frank. He undid his tie. I think he was getting serious with me now. I set my timer. His super strength could only last 2 more minutes tops. He sprang towards me. If I hadn't been wearing high-heeled combat boots, he would have engulfed me. Instead, we stood toe-to-toe. He punched me, swinging hard. That hit hurt, even through the suit's protection, but I shook it off. I punched him as hard as I could. I knew one thing. Hitting him wouldn't do me any favors. I'd have to do this another way. Physics. That's what I needed. I released the grappling gun from my holster. I shot the hook toward the top edge of the staircase. It attached. Frank kept coming. I ducked when Frank threw his next punch. He missed me again. His body tumbled toward one side, and I kept him moving around in circles until the rope was loosely tied around his body. He swung at me again, but this time I'd attached the other hook onto his belt loop. Then I leaped up to the top of the staircase, grabbed the first hook and dropped down, allowing my body weight to do the work by pulling him up like a makeshift pulley. While he kicked and spun, I allowed the rest of the rope to ravel around and around until he couldn't move. He was trapped. And, just in time for the drug to wear off, whew, I stood there breathing hard. The lights popped back on. I took off my infrared glasses. I had to get out of here, and I still didn't have the diamond. I was pretty sure the police syndicate and Fat Eddie hadn't teamed up. Frank moaned. He was going to have a horrible headache later. I couldn't think about the fact that he'd attacked me or what I did to piss off the police syndicate. They needed to get in line. Right now, I had to track down the red diamond thief and save my sister. But who stole it? I had an idea. I'd wait for the police to show up. I had unique insight and could help them. I strolled out of the auction house and waited for the Popo, a couple of blocks over in my souped-up Thunderbird. It'd be a while before they arrived. It was the Detroit police. It'd take them at least an hour. I made a few adjustments while I waited, then drove to the auction house. Lights were flashing. Yup, they'd arrived. I let the 2 cops enter. I think I knew them. I called them Officers Bunny and Clud. Not their real names, of course, but it fit them. I entered the building. I'd already ditched my braided wig and allowed my curly afro to be free, as well as changed into my hot black dress and large spiky red heels. I pushed my breasts up higher. Apparently, I was willing to do anything, even pimp myself out. My nerves were raw. If I didn't bring Fat Eddie that diamond, he was going to kill my baby sister. The 2 officers were in the room looking up at Frank. They'd almost got him down. One of them saw me. Officer Bunny drew his firearm. I immediately put my hands up. A sister can't be too careful even when the police officers were black. Then Bunny, or rather Barney, returned his weapon to the holster.
Detective Armstrong, you scared the hell out of me.
I smiled at him. He did kind of look like a bunny. I said, I was on my way to a hot date and heard the radio.
Glad you're here. This one went sideways fast. We could use another set of eyes.
Officer Cludd helped the dirty detective into a nearby chair. My brain was racing as they worked to untie him. I knew 3 things. 1. I had to find that diamond and save my sister. 2. I had to kill Fat Eddie because he knew my real identity. Frank, you look like hell. I tried to use my best detective's voice. It sounded so different without voice modulation. Who kicked the crap out of you? Frank looked at me with this weird grin on his face, but I don't think he recognized me as Black Justice. And 3. I'd have to kill my partner because he was an ice addict and was working for the police syndicate. The end, for now. About the author. Alicia McCalla is an award-winning author who fearlessly champions diversity and representation in literature. Drawing from her experiences as a decorated Marine Corps veteran, school librarian, and activist for diversity in speculative fiction, Alicia crafts electrifying tales featuring bold, powerful Black women as lead characters, shattering stereotypes and redefining the action thriller genre. With a masterful blend of superhero fiction, urban fantasy, Afrofuturism, and paranormal women's fiction, Alicia's stories pulse with thrilling suspense, otherworldly intrigue, and unapologetic Black girl magic.
Professional audiobooks in a click. Spoken.